Hey everyone, Danosaur here. Today we're going to be talking about my Tistina Fiendsmith deck that I took to locals. I didn't do amazing with it. Round one, I beat Malice, which is more so on the pure Malice side. Round two, we went to a very close game with Blue Eyes Primite. I kind of just got sacked that game though. That was like oh, here's an imperm. Oh, here's another imperm. Okay, I'm going to go full combo into your board now. Um, but there was a very, very close game even through all of that. Game three, I played against Salamangreat. It just didn't go well. And then game four, another close game against Malice. I have since updated my deck a little bit after playing it, and I'm going to show you what I've changed it to. And I've been playtesting against Malice because my boyfriend plays Malice, so that's what I playtest against, and of course that's the most represented deck, so why not? But yeah, let's go over what I've done to this deck, and some of the combos later after showing you like what I've done and what's in here. And of course, you've got the Fiendsmith stuff, you got Malcharmies, and this is it's not a cheap deck, but it is Tistina, and it's still very fun to just essentially Daruma cannon your opponent just constantly. It's honestly really, really funny, and it's got a really good matchup into Malice because if they get one monster on board that isn't a link monster, something that you can flip, you can just send everything else to the graveyard and then use Discordance to just banish all of that face down before they're able to get it out of their graveyard and bring it back. It is a really funny way to deal with their deck. So let's go talk about that. Alright, so we're going to start off discussing the Tistina parts of the deck. So we're going to just start. We have 3 Demigod of the Tistina. This card is an absolute must-have at 3. You have to have this card in order to go full combo. We're going to go with Crystal God Tistina at 2. It is very nice having 2 of this card because sometimes it ends up under an XYZ. But you gotta at least have 2 in my opinion. So you can get away with running it at 1, but I think you need 2 of it. We're gonna go with 1 Tainted of the Tistina. This card is not a brick in hand, but you don't want to open it every game. We just play it at 1. Trust me, you don't want to have multiple of it. I do even own 2 QCRs, and I'm not even like sunk cost playing it or anything like that. I keep it at 1. That's exactly where it needs to be. Same thing with Return to the Tistina. I think if you search this card out, it's better than opening it. Having a Tistina name on board is absolutely very important, but this is not the one that you want to have on board before activating Demigod. You want to be able to search this out and then summon it from your hand and make it a level 10 and then reattach it from your graveyard later. 1 Hound of the Tistina. This recurs itself from the graveyard. You don't need to have more than 1 of it. It's also not a good normal summon, unlike Sentinel, which, yes, returns itself from the graveyard, but is also a pretty good normal summon, so you want to keep that card at 3 at all times. Moving on to the spells, we've got 3 of our field spell, Divine Domain Batistina. This card is... It's almost essential to your full combo. It really is. Especially if you're going second, your opponent has 3 or more face-ups. That's a free Crystal God plus a Sentinel and Graveyard that you can summon and go full combo with. So this card going second is your full combo. Going first is not 100% necessary, and you'll see why later. This card is 100% necessary. It's going to be Breath of the Tistina. We're going to be playing that at 3. It's nice to open it. Sometimes it's really good to search off of Demigod, but if you open it, you can summon Demigod, search your field spell, or play the Tistina, which we're only going to be running at 2, because you don't want to see more than 2 of it in your hand. Like, ever. Even opening 2 of this card can just ruin your entire playline. Like, you just do not need more than 2 of it. I played it at 3 for the longest time, and I finally just put it down to 2, and it has been wonderful. So, you do want to see this card, but trust me when I say play it at 2. If you want to play it at 3, go for it. I'm also dealing with a 40 card deck with this profile, so you could just play a 41 card deck and put the 3rd play the Tistina in there. I don't know if that's exactly right or not, but this has been working very well for me. And then finally, one singular Discordance of the Tistina is going to be the only trap that we're playing, because banishing your entire opponent's graveyard face down is brutal in almost every format, especially Malice, where if you're able to hit 2 of their 3 or even all 3 of their Malice Link monsters, they will just fold. Alright, and moving on to the more common part of the deck that we see in everything, and is of course the Fiendsmith stuff. We got 1 Lacrima, 3 Engraver, 1 Fabled Lurie, 1 Fiendsmith in Paradise, and then, this is going to surprise most people, but only 1 Fiendsmith's Tract. We benefit from being able to destroy set cards, so we don't need to just have a second Tract in our deck. If you open this, you know, so be it. You know, if you open that like with an Engraver, so be it. You opened a bad hand. I'm sorry. That's just Yu-Gi-Oh. We do not need the second Tract, and for the reason for that is when we discard our Engraver, if we are holding Tract, we can search out Paradise without having to worry about sending it from our deck to graveyard later with Lacrima, because we can set it face down and then use our Sentinel of Tistina to target and send it to the graveyard anyways, and that's basically free. So we only play 1 Tract because of that. Moving on to our hand traps, we have got the classic 3 effect failure. Let me get that actually in frame for you. Of course, 1 different rarity effect failure, which is the classic Yu-Gi-Oh combo. 3 Ash Blossom. And of course, 3 Infinite Impermanence. Obviously, this is just a very, very, very casual hand trap package. Is just what you see in almost every deck. We got a singular Called by the Grave in there as well, as the card's at 1. And then, of course, we have 3 Melcharmi Fuelos. Now, if you can't afford Melcharmi Fuelos and you're looking to try playing this deck, this could easily just be Droll in Lockbird. However, Melcharmi Fuelos is the much better option in this case. And we don't, even if we open it going first, it's not the worst case scenario, because we can set it and use an additional normal summon from Breath with Sentinel, and then target it face down, and it's just another Tistina card in hand at that point. So, alright, that was all for the main board. Let's move on to our extra deck. We've got 2 Tistina, the Divinity that Defies Darkness. We need to play 2 of this. You can play it at 3, although the Fiendsmith stuff does take up quite a bit of the extra deck, and you'll see why I'm only playing it at 2. But you're never going to summon more than 2 of this ever, in my opinion. If it comes up, you've had a grind game, very, very grindy game with somebody, and you have probably just lost at that point if you are trying to summon a third of this. It can recur itself, and then you can reattach things to it. It's, a wonderful card in reality. Plus, its effect is 4,000 through your opponent's turn as well. So this card is also a wall that turns on the full graveyard banish for Discordance. But often going first, we're not making Tistina, we are making Verodris. And this card is just absolutely brutal. Just brutal. If you go full, even just full Fiendsmith combo plus a single rank 10, you are going to probably just go Caesar Verodris. And that's usually a 2-card combo, so whatever else you have. I was play testing, I opened 3 hand traps, Sentinel and Breath, and then you use Moon to go into the Fiendsmith stuff later. So you just make Verodris and then put a Caesar on board and pass with 3 hand traps, and most decks are not playing through that. Even if they try and, imperm the Caesar, Verodris is just going to negate that, and then, they're down a card in their hand anyways, and they ought to deal with 3 hand traps plus 2 Caesars. It's ridiculous. Continuing on from here, we've got the cannons. So all 3 of them, of course, Unaffected Tower, your OTK piece, and your, part of your OTK, but also a time card in reality. Very funny to just, if your opponent's slow playing you or something, just going to deal you 2,000, and then you're going to lose in time, because now I'm going to combo for 5 minutes because that's what my deck does, and you slow played me or something like that. Of course, you know. Obviously, if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player, please do be respectful of other people's time while you're playing. You know, I always try to be. You're allowed to think. You're allowed to say I'm thinking, but please do not, for the sake of, you know, trying to get somebody in time. Please do not. Don't ever do that, because you are going to get got by somebody who has been, you know, experienced enough to at the very least have some kind of, you know, time out in their deck. Especially if they think you're slow playing you, they will scum you like that. So that is another use for this card. But keep in mind that you can piss some people off with it, and of course, you know, you always turn it into, you know, a tower. That is pretty much it for our rank 10s. Let's just move on to the rest of the extra deck, which everybody probably already knows. We got Wave High King Caesar. We got a single Necro Court Princess, a single Desiree, a single Fiendsmith's Requiem. We just needed room in our extra deck. That is the only reason I'm playing this at 1. You could be playing it at 2, but you know, I gotta play it at 1 in this particular build, because I am playing Moon, which is very important here, because you're able to use Sentinel and Hound going first to go into Moon after making a Varadress. And then, of course, Varadress protects your entire Fiendsmith combo on top of all that. So we've got a single Sequence, single Egg, and then this isn't necessarily part of the Fiendsmith combo, but it is in there and can really only be summoned from them, which is Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel is one of the most important cards in this extra deck. Not only is Chaos Angel a level 10, it also banishes something there. So you're able to make a Chaos Angel, banish that pesky thing on your opponent's board, get a level 10 on the board, turn Chaos Angel into a Varadress. It is absolutely brutal. And he's a level 10 even just going first if you don't have another way to go to a level 10, you know, and something like that. So especially if they Bestial your Requiem, when you go to attach it, just make the Chaos Angel, and then it's an additional 10. And worst case scenario, it's unaffected, so it's just a tower that they have to get over at that point. And then, of course, we finish this extra deck off with a single SP Little Knight, which comes up often if you open Engraver. This is what you're going to turn Hound and Sentinel into going first. So you're just going to leave an SP on your board. So full combo is essentially just Varadress, Caesar, whatever hand traps you got with an SP Little Knight on board. Or, depending on what your other cards are in your hand, you could have a Discordance set on top of that. Or there was a game where I could either search the field spell and make an SP Little Knight, or I could search Discordance and have a banish face down, and I was against Malice, and I went with the Discordance, and it ended up helping a lot. So, alright, we're going to move on to what I'm playing in my side deck. Now, of course, your side deck is very different depending on your locals, but pretty much everybody right now is playing Bestials in their main board. I've got my 3 in the sideboard. You could, in theory, just shove these into the main board and play a 43 card deck, maybe up play so you have 44 and round it off nice and even. But I think the Bestials in the sideboard right now are fine, especially with people starting to run other decks like Mermail Atlantean, because everybody's playing Bestials. You are going to be seeing, you know, a lot of Salamangreat coming up soon, I think, just because everybody's playing Bestials. Just, in their main board, they just don't do it, so, you know. And Bestials really only hurt our Fiendsmith side of things. They don't really hurt the Tistina stuff. The Tistina stuff that matters is Wind and Earth from coming back from the graveyard, and Play can summon from hand or graveyard, and it doesn't target, so it's kind of hard to Bestial around Play the Tistina, and it's definitely, they need DD Crow to stop the other two, so Bestials in the sideboard here, definitely just for going against other Fiendsmith decks. That's really all they're there for. I guess if you go against Dragon Link, it's pretty good to do that too, and especially you just slaughter branded players with Bestials, so you just leave them in the sideboard, I think, is probably proper. We've got 3 Artifact Lancias. This card just absolutely chokeslams Malice. That's all it's in here for. We're not really trying to do anything else with this card, unless you, say, go against Ritual Beast, which will really hurt them too. But that's about it. That's what Lancia's in there for. Everybody should know what it's for. We've got 3 Ultimate Slayers. This card is very self-explanatory in this deck. We've got all of the options, so no reason to not just play the Ultimate Slayer. This card is absolutely busted and just takes out so many things. We've got 3 rocks. Nibiru is absolutely essential. I would be mainboarding it. It's another one of those where you could just shove them in the main board, and you know, this could be something else like Droll and Lockbird. I think that might actually be what I do. I think I might do the Bestials first, to be honest, but Nibiru in the main board is really, really good too. I have it in the side because it's an essential card in this meta. And then, of course, I don't like Malice players. My boyfriend plays Malice, but you know what? We got to be prepared for it nonetheless. So I got 3 Mulcharmy Meowls as well. This card also, instead of Artifact Lancia for, say I mentioned Merlantian or Salamangrate, this card sides in for them as well on top of Fualos. So keep that in mind, that this is really good just against graveyard decks as well, not just Malice, and this card is going to be absolutely essential. And of course, again, you know, some people can't afford some of the pricier cards like Meowls, although I think Meowls is down a little bit right now, but still not everybody has it. It's a secret rare from a newer set. You know, easily could just be, say, Droll and Lockbird or another hand trap. I do like drawing cards, which is fairly important here. If your opponent decides to just play into your Mulch Armies, you probably just draw everything you need to out everything that they did. And sometimes it's optimal for a Malice player to do that, which, you know, I keep bringing up Malice, but yes, it's the most represented deck right now, of course. You know, it's they sometimes just have to play into it because they will just lose and get OTK'd if they don't. So, but watch it with Fua and Meowls. If you activate both, Malice does have the potential to just deck you out, and then you'll lose right then and there. I played a tournament where I had activated Meowls and Fualos against a Mayakashi player, actually, of all things, and then he normal summoned Bone Tower, and then I milled 2 for every time he summoned as well, and I almost lost that game because it took me forever to find an actual out, say like an Imperm or a Nib. In that case, it was Nib. But yeah, that's you got to be careful with playing both of them, but they just really, really hurt. They make people hesitate. They make, you know, shouldn't make them hesitate, but it does often. So that's why we run Meowls as well. Alright, so I'm going to show you what it's like to open the God Hand, essentially, in this deck. Alright, and for the sake of showing you this combo, we're going to assume this is an uninterrupted combo. So we start by throwing our Engraver into grave, getting Fiendsmith Track to hand, activating Tract, finding and discarding Fabled Lurry mandatory engrave to summon, and then we're going to link Lurry away into Requiem. We're going to activate its effect, go find Lacrima. Lacrima is then going to send Fiendsmith in Paradise. Alright? Sorry for the webcam setup currently. It's a little weird here, but you will be able to get the idea of everything. We're going to shuffle Lurry back in to summon Engraver. And then we can equip Requiem to Lacrima here. We can actually just do this, it'll look better. We'll make Lacrima and Requiem into a Necro-equipped Princess. Now, everybody should sort of know this line, and we're just going to drop a Caesar, okay? So, during your opponent's next turn, of course, we have this in Graveyard, which is just another body on board and a Fiendsmith in Paradise. Basically just another way to, you know, basically trip up your opponent. You know, if they're going to negate this stuff, then this stuff is free to go, which is huge. At this point, we activate Breath of the Tistina, and then we activate Demigod of the Tistina, and this allows us to search a Tistina spell or trap, and then summon that. So we're actually going to go find Divine Domain in this case, and then we're going to activate Divine Domain. I'm going to put this up here for sake of space. And we aren't going to actually activate Divine Domain's send ability yet, we're just going to have it on the board. No, we do. We activate this and we send Sentinel to the graveyard. So now Sentinel, we can summon, since I bumped my camera there, since we have the demigod, we can summon the Sentinel, and then we will activate Return to the Tistina in this case, and summon it to our field. We are going to then activate Breath of the Tistina, targeting Return to the Tistina to flip it face down. Go search any Tistina card. This is where we're going to search. Well, you have a couple options, obviously. So we have these options. It really just depends on what you want to do here. If we have Play of the Tistina in hand, getting Crystal God is pretty good. And we're going to be able to search out one more of these too. So in reality, we could probably just grab... It's either Tainted or Crystal God. It doesn't matter in this exact case. But we're going to then use Sentinel, targeting our face down card here, popping it, and then we're going to go find the Crystal God. Now we'll use an additional normal summon here with Tainted, tributing our Sentinel, and then we're going to make a Veridris. And what we do is we set Play the Tistina, just in case of any kind of scenarios here where if this gets destroyed by our opponent, we get to summon a Crystal God Tistina, and then we can use Play the Tistina to summon Demigod, and then we have our Daruma Cannon on our opponent live. But this is also just ridiculous with what's going on. I mean, we have a Fiendsmith in Paradise in Graveyard. We have a High King Caesar, and we have a Veridris. This is very, very, very difficult for anybody to play through. Alright, so this hand, now obviously, if you see an Engraver in your opening hand, you're already doing pretty well. But if you see Sentinel and any other Tistina card, you're also doing well. So we're going to say we got 2 hand traps here. They could be any other cards, but we're just going to call them Effect Veiler and Ash for now. And we start basically the exact same way that we did our last combo. We're going to go Tracked, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to kind of speed up the whole process here into a Caesar, but we're not really going to do a Caesar necessarily. We're just going to leave these on the board because we need to make sure that we're doing things properly. And this will be either a Caesar or a Chaos Angel. And to be honest, if they're going to nib you, they're probably just going to nib you right here if you just bluff Caesar like this. And then you're free to do your normal summon and everything else. So we just activate our normal summon. We're going to use, we normal summon, we activate Sentinel, targeting itself to destroy, and then we search Demigod. Now we activate Divine Domain, and then since Divine Domain does count as a Tistina card on field, we can activate Demigod, and we will search Breath of the Tistina in this case. Now we're going to activate Breath, activate Sentinel in the graveyard, summon it, and then Breath target to flip it face down, and search any Tistina card. And obviously, just depends on where you want to go with it. So we can make a Caesar, we can make a Chaos Angel. So it depends on how many rank 10s we want to put on the board. We could grab Tainted here and tribute summon our face down and make this a level 10 and then go into a Veridris, which is probably the optimal play line. And then we finish up our Daruma Cannon on our opponent's next turn. So we probably take that. You could also just grab Return to the Tistina here. You could even grab Hound. But there's just not really a reason to right now. So we just grab the Tainted, and this way we have it and we can recur it. Or actually, you know what? I thought about that just a bit more. Let's just grab the Return to the Tistina, because we're just going to make a Verudrus, and this way we can leave our OTK up for the next, or the following turn. And then we just target Demigod, summon this, turn this into a Verudrus. And then you can, turn that into a Desiree, or you can turn it into a Caesar. Caesar is usually the best bet, depending on what your opponent is playing. If you're going first against your opponent, then and you don't know what they're playing, Caesar is probably the best bet to make. And obviously, this is essentially the same end board, just without the other stuff. And even if you really want to, you can use Verudrus to pop your face down, if for whatever reason. But that's with 2 hand traps in your hand on top of a Caesar and a Verudrus, which is also just a stupid end board. So, we didn't even use Divine Domain to send something yet. Like, we absolutely could here, and to be honest, putting a Hound of the Tistina in the graveyard is a very good option, because you can just use that as link material or something, depending if you wanted to, just really depending on where you wanted to go. Like, you could make the, instead of doing the Agnum Day playline, you could use Sequence and Hound to go into an SP Little Knight and leave that on board, and then that way you just have the Sequence on the Desiree if you don't want the attack boost. Things like, just, the deck is very modular, and that's why I like about playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is when a deck is modular and you can go a bunch of different routes and stuff like that. Oops, we accidentally opened all Tistina gas. Let's see what we can do with this. So, let's just drop our normal summon of Sentinel. And then we're going to activate Sentinel targeting itself to pop. We're going to go and search out our Demigod. Now, we can't activate Demigod until we have a Tistina card on the field, so let's activate Breath. And then we'll activate Demigod to special summon. We're going to go and search Discordance in this case, since, or Divine Domain. It depends on what you want. We don't necessarily need Divine Domain here, as we already have Hound and Sentinel. There's not really a reason to send Returned or Tainted unless we are going second and want to beef some things up. So we've got Discordance probably in this case. We're going to probably additional normal summon, get the Hound up there, Sentinel from graveyard to special summon. We're going to Breath of the Tistina. We're going to flip our Hound. We're going to go and find our Return to the Tistina here, I think. Sorry, we're flipping Sentinel, not Hound. We're going to activate Return to the Tistina. We're going to activate Play of the Tistina here. Obviously, targeting here. Now, we could, in theory, this is a really funny thing that you can do, is instead of playing SP Little Knight, you can use Hound and Return to the Tistina to make an Abyss Dweller. Now, we aren't making Abyss Dweller. We don't play Abyss Dweller. But it is a very funny thing that you could do. If anything that we would cut for Abyss Dweller would be our Super Dora. But it doesn't come up often, but I'm very much so thinking of making that change, so we could do that. But we're not doing that. We're just summoning our Crystal God off of play, and then we're going to use those two to go into either a Verudrus. It's up to you, really, what you want to do here. Or a Tistina the Divinity Defies Darkness, so we can set Discordance. It depends on what your opponent is playing, but very clearly we probably want our Verudrus, or if we're going for like time or something like that, we have our rank 10. Verudrus is probably the best. We just set this and link these two away into an SP Little Knight. There's a couple different routes that we could be taking in this case scenario, and now you could be linking these into an SP Little Knight. The other option, of course, is Moon of the Closed Heaven, and then going into our Fiendsmith combo, grabbing Requiem, and eventually ending up with either a Caesar, or a Desiree, or even a Chaos Angel, or, depending on, how we played the turn earlier, another rank 10. It's just up to you, really. So, of course, even with just all Tistina gas, we can still end full Fiendsmith combo Caesar and Veradress. Uh-oh, this one isn't looking too good, but don't worry, we're okay. We can activate Breath of Tistina here, normal summon Mulcharmy Fuilos, Breath of Tistina target to flip it face down. We're going to go find Demigod of Tistina here. We're going to activate Demigod. We're going to search Divine Domain. Alright, and we're going to activate Divine Domain. We're going to send Sentinel of Tistina to the graveyard using Divine Domain. We're going to activate Sentinel of Tistina to summon. And then we're going to set our Fiendsmith in Paradise that we opened. We're going to activate Sentinel targeting our Fiendsmith in Paradise to go search any other Tistina card. And now we're going to... Oh, let's see. We don't want Hound. We probably just want to tribute, using our additional normal summon. We probably just want to tribute over this. Unfortunately, this isn't exactly our full combo, but we're going to grab Taint of the Tistina. We're going to tribute over our Mulcharmy Fuilos that we set using Breath. Sorry, I dropped my Ash Blossom there. And then we're just going to go into a rank 10, and we're probably just going to make our Veradress. And unfortunately, this isn't we don't really get anywhere with this combo other than Veradress, but at the very least, having Breath in any hand trap can put a Veradress on the field for you. And of course, this is still like, yeah, well, I mean, with Fiendsmith in Paradise in the graveyard, we might not want to make Veradress and go into the Fiendsmith stuff first, just because that's what we need to do. Now, of course, having this in your as a hand is a little bit bricky, but still, just to show you how we can get there. Or even just have some to set up for Moon, so we can just have a Desiree Paradise or a Caesar in Paradise end board, or Verudrus. But most decks can play through just one Verudrus. It does get a little bit harder when you have two other hand traps in your hand, though, however. So, still, even though it's basically a brick, you're still able to make your rank 10. Now, of course, with any Yu-Gi-Oh deck, you can't cover everything in one video. Like, I didn't even cover going second. I didn't cover your turn 3 plays, which, if you want to see a turn 3 play against Mimighoul that was kind of a really cool comeback, I'll link that video right here. It's just a short minute and a half, doing my combo and then getting obliterated until they decide to destroy my field spell and then they lose because of it. It's really cool. The deck stumps a lot of people, and I'm going to be taking this deck, probably going to tweak it just a little bit, but we're going to be taking this deck to an OTS championship pretty soon, and I'm going to follow up with a video on how that goes, and I'm pretty excited to do so. But until then, I've been Danosaur, and thank you so much for watching. If you like content like this, then please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I drop a new video. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more Tistina content, or if you want to see any of the other content that I've covered on my channel. Thanks again for watching.